Shifting our focus to Bangladesh, where the actions of the interim government led by Mohammad Yunus are causing unrest among the Bengalis. Recently, the Bangladeshi government reportedly approved a proposal from Jinnah, which is Pakistan's private airline, to operate direct flights between Dhaka and Karachi. This is a big step, keeping in mind the historical context between the two nations. This decision will re-establish air connectivity after nearly a decade of no direct flights between both the countries. The reports came just days after Mohammad Iqbal Hussain, who is Bangladeshi High Commissioner to Pakistan, announced that direct flights between the two countries would be unveiled in the coming months. He said that enhanced air connectivity between Lahore, Karachi and Dhaka would promote deeper trade and business ties between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Earlier, it was reported that the Civil Aviation Authority of Bangladesh had approved the proposal and was awaiting Jinnah's request for flight slots and frequencies. Now, Jinnah is a joint venture between Pakistan's Laksan Group and UAE-based Air Arabia, a low-cost carrier headquartered in Sharjah. Now, here's why this is big. Well, there has been no air connectivity between the two countries since 2015, and that's when Pakistan International Airlines PIA operated its last flight to Bangladesh. The push to improve air connectivity also follows the establishment of a direct maritime link in November last year. In November, the first cargo ship sailed directly from Pakistan to Bangladesh in decades, unloading its containers at the port of Chittagong. And all these recent developments indicate that Bangladesh, under the Yunus government, has been moving closer to Pakistan. During Bangladesh's 54th Victory Day celebration, Yunus did not mention the country's founding leader, Mujibur Rahman, a move which also raised eyebrows. Remember that Bangladesh and Pakistan are not traditional allies. Bangladesh became an independent nation in 1971 following a war against the persecution of the Bengali people by Urdu-speaking Pakistani officials and military leaders. A liberation struggle that led to the creation of Bangladesh. Our top focus on Gravitas. Trump wants to make Gaza great again, except that it's not quite in the way that Palestinians would want to be great again. For Trump, a great Gaza is an American beach strip with tourist glitz and perhaps Las Vegas glamour without any Palestinians. On Tuesday, in an audacious announcement, Trump announced that his vision for post-war Gaza includes U.S. taking control of the Palestinian enclave. You heard that right. That's what Trump said during a joint press conference with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump said that the U.S. will take over Gaza and do a good job with it. A provocative, outlandish, and outrageous statement. Hear it for yourself.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
So the question is, how does he plan to do a good job with Gaza? Well, his plan involves getting rid of the war-torn Palestinians.
You can't live in Gaza right now, and I think we need another location. I think it should be a location that's going to make people happy. You look over the decades, it's all death in Gaza. This has been happening for years. It's all death. If we can get a beautiful area to resettle people permanently in nice homes and where they can be happy and not be shot, not be killed, not be knifed to death like what's happening in Gaza.
To put it simply, Trump wants Gaza to become a part of the American empire, to take control of Gaza, displace the already war-torn Palestinians, and transform the tiny coastal enclave into what he refers to as the Riviera of the Middle East. Is this Trump's idea of peace or a colonial fantasy wrapped in slick talk? And where does this leave Palestinians who have already lost everything so far? His vision for post-war Gaza has sent shockwaves across the globe, but no one is more outraged than the Arab world, which has resolutely rejected Trump's Gaza fantasy. Saudi Arabia, considered Trump's closest ally in the oil-rich Gulf region, rejected the displacement of Palestinians. Saudi has said it would not hold peace talks with Israel, which is a long-term goal of Washington, D.C., unless an independent Palestinian state is created. Meanwhile, Egypt said that it is committed to an independent Palestinian state along the 1967 borders. Remember, Egypt is also a key U.S. ally in the region and one of the mediators of the Gaza ceasefire talks. Cairo's statement, however, did not mention Trump or the U.S. directly. But Egyptian officials have said in recent days that they will not participate in the displacement of Palestinians from Gaza. Well, neighboring Jordan and Egypt have yet to respond to Trump's comments, but they have previously rebuffed Trump's suggestion. In fact, just a day earlier, as Trump started to talk about moving Palestinians out of Gaza, 5 Arab foreign ministers in a joint letter warned the U.S. that such a deportation would push the region towards more tension, conflict and instability. The Arab nations have long pushed for a Palestinian state in both Gaza and the West Bank, with East Jerusalem as its capital, and that's the majority view in the world's nation too. If the United Nations is any indication, which remains largely in favor of a two-state solution, a solution that would allow Palestinians self-determination, and Trump's proposal to take over Gaza, it violates that very principle. Well, UK Foreign Minister David Lammy told reporters, and I'm quoting here, "We've always been clear in our belief that we must see two states. We must see Palestinians live and prosper in their homelands in Gaza and the West Bank," unquote. UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese called Trump's plan unlawful, immoral and completely irresponsible. In the US, reactions from the Democratic lawmakers were swift and sharp. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy called Trump's suggestion a bad, sick joke. He said, and I'm quoting him here, "I have news for you. We are not taking over Gaza." That's what he said. You see, there are also practical reasons to why Trump's idea is a fantasy. For one, Arab states vehemently oppose this, and it's their money and land that would be needed to make Trump's plan work. Plus, the complete evacuation of Gaza would deal a serious blow to statehood demands and also create a precedent that could also raise doubt about the Palestinian presence in the West Bank. Remember, the United Nations calls it, just like Gaza, an Israeli-occupied territory. Then there is the idea of large numbers of Palestinians agreeing to quit Gaza for a suburban idyll elsewhere. The question being, for what? What is Trump's grand plan to rebuild Gaza by forcing its residents out? His whole vision for Gaza sounds more like a pitch for a dystopian real estate project than a post-war recovery plan. Does he plan to build casinos and resorts? That too, in a devastated Palestinian enclave. The whole concept relies on perhaps a superficial understanding of the war. It is the war that has left them dispossessed. Where are they supposed to go, and with what money? As it is the Palestinians who have long been haunted by what they call the Nakba, or catastrophe. That's when 700,000 of them were dispossessed from their homes. And that's during the war that surrounded the creation of Israel in 1948. Many were driven out or fled to neighboring Arab states, including to Jordan, Syria and Lebanon. Here, many of them and their descendants still live in refugee camps. Some went to Gaza, of course. Israel disputes that account, that they were forced out. But it does not change history. What's more, Trump's intention to secure Gaza with American soldiers will also bring back memories of the disastrous American invasion of Iraq. It destabilized the entire region, not to mention sullied America's reputation in the Arab world as well. Plus, President Donald Trump's proposal also marks a major departure from America's decades-long commitment to a two-state solution. It would see territorially distinct states for Israelis and for Palestinians, the latter made up of the occupied West Bank, the Gaza Strip and East Jerusalem. But is this remarkable assertion from a sitting American president just a Trumpian ploy to suggest the extreme and then fashion an agreement between the regional foes along more moderate lines? If nothing else, this extraordinary suggestion has woken up everyone. From the diplomatic ennui caused by repetition of the familiar, interrupted by rising and continuous waves of violence. Remember, 15 months of war have caused a colossal humanitarian impact on the Gaza Strip and on the displaced Palestinians. They have just begun returning to their damaged homes. Experts estimate that it will take 350 years to rebuild Gaza, a land that has endured 5 wars in under 2 decades. The fragile ceasefire that came into effect on January 15th offered Gazans a sliver of hope and stability. But Trump's announcement less than 20 days later feels not just outrageous, but dangerously destabilizing. Where does this leave Palestinians who have already lost everything? That's the question that needs to be answered. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that over 45,000 Ukrainian soldiers have lost their lives defending the country against Russia. That's since 2022. And now, with the war entering a dangerous phase and US President Donald Trump mounting pressure to end the war, Zelensky has finally blinked. He has agreed to hold direct talks with Putin. Our next report decodes what made the Ukrainian president to take this call. Take a look.
The war nears a breaking point. Outgunned and outnumbered, the Ukrainian troops are losing ground to Russia in the eastern region. A decisive battle is playing out in the strategic city of Pokrovsk. Moscow is capturing as much territory as possible, while Ukraine struggles to defend its front lines. With time running short and Trump administration pushing for a truce, Ukrainian President Zelensky has agreed to hold direct talks with his Russian counterpart Putin to end the conflict.
If our allies believe we must move to the diplomatic track, and I believe we are ready to move to the diplomatic track, there must be the United States of America, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia. Isn't it a compromise already? We will talk to Putin. A conversation with him is a compromise for him.
Zelensky's comments come in the wake of much-awaited talks between Trump and Putin. Although Trump promises to end the war in Ukraine, how exactly he ends to do that remains unclear. This is much like his pronouncements, ranging from threats to pull US military support for Ukraine to threats of further economic sanctions on Russia. Kremlin has dismissed Zelensky's call for dialogue, dubbing it empty words. But the Ukrainian president is bargaining hard. He has issued a bold ultimatum to his Western allies.
If this process, accession to NATO, drags on for years or decades, not because of us, but because of partners, then we will have a just question. What will be defending us against this evil for this whole time on this path? What support package? Which missiles? Will we be given nuclear weapons?
Від всіх військових.
With Russia calling Ukraine's demands absolute madness, the war seems to be far from over. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.